Hey everybody, Steven here. Today I'm doing my first official build video on the channel for myself. A couple years ago I did a build video with my son. That was really fun, but this one is for me. And the thing that's different for myself in regards to the build is this is the first time I'm actually going to go with an AMD CPU. So this is the Ryzen 3900X that I have here. Seen amazing things on it in terms of benchmarks and everything. So really excited to actually try that out and see how it does with games and then on all the multimedia stuff that I do. In terms of the rest of the build here though, the one thing I noticed with the AMD CPUs is I just couldn't find as many motherboards as I can with Intel. But I ended up going with the MSI, the X570 Gaming Pro here. This one actually has a little deal that you can kind of screw in, and it's a Wi-Fi attachment, so that's why I went with this one versus taking up a USB port that I have right now going on with essentially one of the little dongles that I use. So wanted to move away from that and just free up the USB port, and hopefully this actually gets a better reception than the little dongle does, so we'll see with that. But for the rest of the build here, I went with the H710i Nzxt case here. Initially I wanted this to be an ITX build, but they don't have the H1s. Those are all sold out. That was one of my first choices. And then the other one was the Fantext Shift. And I love the aesthetics of it, but as I was looking at it and trying to find parts that would fit and all of that, I was like, man, just build the thing that you want. Go full out on this. So switched it up. And I knew I was gonna go with the Nzxt Kraken water cooler for this, because I've heard that the AMD chips just run a little bit hot. So wanted to kind of combat that with a water cooler here. Plus I just love the aesthetics of it. I think it looks really good. But because I was going to go with that, I knew that looking at cases, like I just wanted to integrate it underneath the same hood here. So with the 710i here, it actually comes with the little module that will help run CAM. Haven't heard the best things about CAM in terms of the software, so we'll see with that. But I do like the look of these two, and out of all the cases, I like the aesthetics of this one compared to some of the other ones here. And I am getting the Air RGB fan with this as well, so now that it can all kind of integrate together, I'm hoping it's just a seamless experience versus running like this software, and they're like, I'm already doing that enough versus trying to run a bunch of other things on top of it. So trying to minimize that a little bit. In terms of the GPU though, this is the only thing that I bought. It's not used necessarily, but it was open box. So I got this off of eBay for $1,000 compared to the $1,200 to $1,400 that these typically run for. Tried to shave a little bit of money off of my overall cost here, but super excited to try this one out. I do have the 1080 Ti in my previous rig, so curious to see the difference between these two. And then for the power supply unit, I ended up going with the Fantext Revolt Pro. I like the look of it, even though you're never gonna see it, but I thought it was a cool look, and I like Fantext as a company. And this is 850 watts here, which is plenty enough to run everything. And then I went with the Trident Z for the RAM here. This overclocks to 3600 megahertz from J-Skill here. And then I have the 860 1 terabyte SSD over there. So the only thing not showcased right now is actually my M.2 drive, which I'm going to take from my old computer, because that is the Samsung 960 Pro there. So I ended up buying the Western Digital one, but looking at the specs, I was like, just take that old one. That way you don't have to upload Windows or anything like that, because this is going to be my new daily driver. It just makes it easier. Plus, with this having the PCIe 4 on it, I wanted to take full advantage of how much faster that is compared to the Western Digital here. So that is the only thing that won't be new in it, but it'll make it a little bit easier in terms of getting this thing all set up here. So curious to get this thing rolling. I've never installed a water cooler, so that's going to be, shouldn't be hard based off everything that I've seen, but getting this all set up. This will be my 8th rig, I believe. So let's get this set up, and then we're going to showcase obviously the looks and everything like that. And then in terms of benchmarks, I'm not a huge benchmark guy, but I do want to showcase Red Dead Redemption 2. I'll run that benchmark software that they have integrated into that, and then we'll try to look at exporting a video in Premiere Pro really quick and just see how fast and easy that is. So let's go ahead and get to building this thing. All right, so we are all done. This thing is all set up. I've actually had it up and running for a couple days now, and I'm extremely happy with it. I actually built it in stages because I'd have to work on it a little bit and then I'd have to go to work. In terms of any problems that I ran into it, it was really just a learning curve with the water cooler, making sure that I had the right bracket for this. Kept doing this thing where I'd go to grab it to try and see how I need to orient it so that the Nzxt logo here would not be like upright or anything like that, and it kept touching the thermal paste was one of the things that I kept doing. Didn't have an issue with it. I did go ahead and just add a smidge more to make up for it, and got that mounted. I ended up taking the 320 millimeter fans from the front here, and then I put them up top, and then I have the water cooler and the radiator right here. The air fan over there worked out really, really good. I am thinking about getting a 140 millimeter fan right there. That'll be the air as well, and then I'll take this one by one more, and then I'll put the lights here. That's something I need to do, just something I want to potentially do. And I did order 16 gigs of RAM, so I ordered another set of the J-Skill RAM there, just because with video exporting and everything like that, I know it'll actually boost performance just a little bit. So the learning curve with that was something that I had to kind of work around. Took me a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but everything else went really, really smooth. I mean, the case itself, I really, really like this case for a couple different reasons. One, the cable management in the back is nice, just how you kind of run everything. And I'm not the best at cable management, but it does help. It doesn't look insanely pretty back there, but it's definitely one of the better builds that I've done in terms of cable management. I do have the Fantex power supply cables here. It's the white ones, and they're actually extenders. I don't know if I would get those again. In my mind, I mean, it's all colorful right now just because I think that looks really cool at the moment, but I did want this so it was kind of white and black, and I haven't switched over the lights yet, but I'm going to check that out and then see. But these are long, so there's a lot of cable that's just kind of shoved underneath there. It has a room for it, but that's one of those things I don't know if I would buy that out of all the parts here, and it was a cheap part anyways. But other than that, I am extremely happy with this. The 3900X is a really, really awesome CPU, and the 2080 Ti here is a beast. I mean, that is a very, very powerful GPU. But we'll get to some of the different benchmarks that I did here in a second. I am reading off notes because I have a lot of stuff that I want to cover with this. So the big thing here with the Ryzen is I've noticed in the cam software that it had fluctuating temperatures, and I was kind of expecting maybe minor fluctuations, but it actually goes from like 40, 41, it jumps up to like 48, 49, and then it goes back down. Did a little bit of research, and somebody said that it fluctuates because Ryzen auto overclocks, and you can actually tweak this in the BIOS, I believe, and or maybe it's with their software. If you guys know more than me, definitely let me know in the comment section, but that's something that I noticed, and I had a bunch of different people that I was looking at their threads, and they would actually just completely redo the thermal paste, and it would still do it. Because initially I was like, oh man, maybe I messed something up, but that's kind of the thing that I've read with this. I'm going to do a little bit more of a deep dive into that so I can find out more information. Hopefully I can kind of just confirm that, but like I said, if you guys know anything, let me know in the comment section. When gaming though, I've noticed it kind of sticks in the 50s. Now I'm not overclocking on top of that. I do have the cam software set to performance in terms of fan speed, but I'm not overclocking the GPU or the CPU with this. And it does really, really well. And I was originally going to try and get this video out quicker, but I knew Doom Eternal was about to launch, so I wanted to actually get some gameplay footage of that and showcase that for you guys as well. And I mean, this handles it like a champ. This is a 1440p 144 hertz monitor, and it maxes everything out. So I have ultra nightmare settings, and it hits typically anywhere from, I think right now it says 137 on the screen capture I have here, but it's usually between that and 144 solid the whole time. No dips or anything like that. I don't have any problems with it. So but cable management was really, really good. Panels are easy to take off with this. We have one screw in the back here, and this thing will just pop out. The back has a button that you push, and it just pops right off, which is awesome. Compared to my first case where you had the two screws, and it was just more of a pain to slide that thing out. This is really, really easy, so I do like that on the case. With this, the cam software, I mentioned it just briefly, but that's where I'm going to change all the lighting effects in here. And right now I just kind of have it kind of to like rainbow and spectrum. But I mentioned that I saw a lot of negative things being said about the cam software, and initially no problems at all. And for running the lights, there is no problem. Changing the fan speed, no problems. I haven't messed with the overclocking stuff. It's when you try to do the overlay, or it tries to analyze your game information, which it's doing, and it just freezes a lot. It freezes and it crashes a lot, is the thing that I've noticed if you're messing with things outside of the lights. So hopefully they fix that on their end, but in terms of just changing the lights, no problem. It's the other stuff that presents an issue with that. So the air fan on the cam module in here, it had one opening for it. I didn't see anybody talking about that. It did have one opening, so now I can actually obviously connect that because I'm running it, but then this actually has an out and an in on it, so you can actually connect more off of it, and then they're all stringed together, which is awesome. So that'll make it easy when I try to add a couple more if I want to with this. So moving on to benchmarks really quick. Red Dead Redemption 2, I just used their kind of internal benchmark stuff that they have, and on ultra settings, everything on ultra settings there, I had a minimum FPS of 27.8, a maximum of 80, and an average of 53, which is pretty awesome. I know some people do this in 4K though. They tweak those settings, and they can even hold 30 to 60 FPS with that in 4K. Don't have a 4K monitor, but we're pretty close here with the 1440p, and that's really good. And then on a mixture of settings, so something I may do, and it was something I was kind of doing for my 1080 Ti, that one was interesting. So I ended up with a minimum of 18 FPS, a maximum of 107, which that's really high, right? But an average of 66, which isn't insanely better than the ultra on everything. So the thing with Red Dead Redemption 2 though is I've noticed when you do that, I could keep the settings, run the benchmark again, and it'll give me a different thing. It just kind of jumps all over the place. And I'm not going to buy Cinebench or was it 3D Mark or anything right now. I'm thinking about it as I've kind of gotten a little bit deeper into this, but I just don't have that software at the moment. So maybe in the future I'll start doing some of that stuff. Exporting 4K video, a 1 minute 4K video took 49 seconds. And that's what the H.264 settings, and I didn't shoot the bitrate all the way up with that, so it was just kind of matching the source. And then for a 5 minute 4K video, it took 3 minutes and 57 seconds. I'm not back testing that against my 1080 Ti, but just because I've exported so much video with that, I can tell you it cut it down about 40-50% with that, which was awesome. And that's just me going off feel. I don't have any like data to kind of back that up, but just based off feel, it does go much faster. So same thing, maybe in the future I start doing some benchmarks with that. But I have noticed a huge just increase in overall performance, which is awesome, and I'm hoping that extra 16 gigs of RAM is actually going to help even more with some of that stuff. But running Doom, like I said, has been a breeze, and super excited with that. I'm looking really forward to Cyberpunk and running ray tracing with that. I don't have any ray tracing games right now outside of running mods. Just all the games that actually have it, they're just not my style of game, and I don't want to waste the money just to look at it for a second and not really use it. But I got this because I didn't want to hold out for the 3000 series. Although I've heard phenomenal things, I don't know if what's going on right now is actually going to delay the release of those. So hope is right now I'm just going to hold out. I at least have this and I can kind of tinker around with it. I do want to get a 3080 Ti when it comes out, unless it's like $2,500 or something like that. And then what I'll do is I'll sell my 1080 Ti. This will go in the downstairs rig, and then I'll put that in here and start doing kind of more benchmarking and things with that. And since Cyberpunk is going to have the ray tracing, that's kind of the big one that I'm focused on, as well as Halo Infinite when it comes out on PC. So I am extremely happy with this. I'm going to do a little bit more tinkering, like I said, with some of the fans and all of that. But overall, I really like the aesthetics of this, and it turned out, I mean, for the most part, exactly how I wanted it to turn out. So that is it. I'm going to put the link for all this stuff in the description. And actually, before I kind of close this out, the Wi-Fi, if you noticed up here, I like that. It looks like a shark fin. and it does get a better signal, by the way, than the little dongle that I had. So that actually just went downstairs, and this gets a better signal. My router is actually like literally, if you do a straight line through here, and it goes through like 5 walls to get to it, and it still pulls 150 to 200 megabytes per second, and we pay for 300, so that's really, really awesome, and I'm happy with that, and it just adds a cool little aesthetic to it that I thought. So, but like I said, I'll have everything in the description. If you like the video, hit the like button for me. If you want to continue to follow along with all of my content, hit the subscribe button for me. Thanks so much for watching.